Hello, hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay, so I don't know if you all have watched the one that Trish did before, but we had a really good show. It's over in the live stream playlist, and I put a thumbnail on it so you can see her picture and it's easier to find. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can jump over there and. But she's going to give us a little rundown and then tell us a little bit more about some of the newer work that she's been doing and things that she's been learning
Okay.
about everything.
Yeah.
So take it away, Trish.
Alrighty. Well, when I was just telling Brandy the other day, I was doing dishes and I watched that show again, and because I like to go back and watch, everybody always likes to go back and see how they sounded and the way they looked and stuff. So that's what I was really doing, to be honest with you. But during it, I heard you ask me how it affected the children psychologically, and I didn't hear you during the show that day. That's why I never answered it. Really, I had heard what you had said right before it, but I didn't
Yeah.
actually hear that part of it. So that's whenever I reached back out to you and was like, well, hey, do you want to do one and kind of talk about that then?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this is
Absolutely.
going to be about. And, Barry et al. Said racism functions as toxic stressors that disrupts early childhood mental health and socio-emotional development. And like that was something that it was a reference I had used in a paper I was doing for school. And it was actually that same day I found that. And then that's kind of what gave me the idea to want to do this tonight and talk about how it affects children, families, period, all of it really.
Yeah.
But more children than any. But something else that I'm going to also be sharing tonight is what happened with my son and his own dealings with racism. And I waited and I hadn't shared that with nobody yet. And I had talked about it a little bit, but just not what actually happened to him. Because it's horrific. I mean, it's just detestable, the things that these people do around here. Even to kids. I mean, and even though he may not look like a small child, he still is a child.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you want me to just kind of go on into that, or
Yeah, let's just dive in.
do you all have
For
any
anybody
questions
that's
about it, the topic?
unfamiliar,
Okay.
Trisha's husband has been dealing with racism and her family with persecution from the county, from the system. And that's the story that she shared on the last episode. So this one, we're going to focus more on her son and his experiences, I think. So.
With everything.
And I'll touch on that and kind of a little rundown of what all's happened with my husband. Again, some of the examples of things I talked about in the last show was how he was choked by a jailer, not the jailer that he was under once we were together after having our child, but when we first met each other. He was treated unfairly through the court system. It's just plain out discrimination, no matter how you look at it. If there's people out there that want to call it racism, then fine, it's discrimination, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
And it's not right. And I'm just sick of it. And anybody that has been through the things that our family has I would imagine, speak up and wouldn't keep taking hit after hit after hit. But he right down to back in 1995, he got in a car wreck and wasn't even allowed to file charges to, prosecute the people that hit him or the people that was driving him in the car wreck, and told him he would be hit with a murder charge if he tried to prosecute anyone by the family, even though he wasn't a driver. So if you hear it and you do go back and watch that other interview, everything that I say, if you sit down and you take out the fact that I'm talking about child support, and let me remind you guys that the child support we're talking about are of children that are in their 20s. And the child I'm talking about tonight is a child that's still under the age of 18. And to me, that makes all the difference. in
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's not, I know that those kids went through their own racial problems, and, you know, they done a march in Whitesburg and stuff, and they raised some awareness for it back whenever I'm sure that it was more they were staying around here. I know they probably moved off and got their own life now and stuff. I know that. And so, you know, there's not really nothing being said about it around here because there's not really a lot of people that might not be affected by it. We don't have a large African American population or a large diversity to begin with, period.
Yeah.
And
No, really
Metzner and
don't.
all said, yeah, we don't. Metzner et al. Said everyday racism significantly impairs developmental outcomes, including self-esteem and emotional well-being. And that is true. And, like, you know, studying psychology has been insanely crazy. It's been fun and hard. And just all the things that I've learned, like, you know, I'm not just saying what I'm saying to people on here. I'm doing the work behind it, guys, because, like, for every essay I've had to write, every journal I've had to write, anything I've had to do with my schoolwork, I've done it focused around racism and what my families went through here. So I'm not just telling it to you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling it to whoever, anybody that will listen to me. And I've been doing this for years. This ain't nothing new for me.
Right.
But just nobody wants to hear it. And those of you that do, I appreciate you. But back to talking about my son. We had went somewhere, and I was taking him to drop him off at the rec center one day while we were up in Macon. And I went up this mountain. I had never been up it before. Well, I didn't know how to get back down it. And so I got out to walk down to somebody's driveway. I seen somebody on the porch and cut through all that. Let's get to what actually matters. I turned around all of a sudden because I heard some people hollering behind me. And when I turned around, I had a gun in my face. And I was like, okay, buddy, you know, well, I mean, I wasn't even worried about that. I cared. My kid was in the car and, you know, he was watching this. And I was like, okay, listen, I don't care about your effing gun. Get it out of my face. My son's in the car and he don't need to see that. And they proceeded to tell me, there's nobody in my car. They're like, there's nobody in your car. Now, mind you, before I ever step out of my vehicle, I tell him, do not move for nothing and lock the doors till I get back. Not because I knew the area I was in, not because of the situation, nothing like that. Just because, you know, just to keep him protected, period. Even though he is older, teenager, I still see a little bitty infant. Any mother would. And all mothers know what I'm talking about.
Trust me, mine's in their 30s and I baby them.
Right.
So,
I mean, well, once you have a baby, that's always your baby, even if they're 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? And I understand what my mom would say now. I'm sure y'all ladies can agree. All those things we heard our mamas telling us growing up, how many of those come back to bite us in the butt. But they proceeded to tell me that he's not in the car. And I'm like, I knew instantly something's wrong. So I like jet back to my vehicle because I had to see it to believe it. Because I couldn't believe he would have just got out of the car for nothing. You know, I knew one, he didn't get out for nothing. I automatically knew that off the top. But, you know, my heart hit my gut. And like for 5 minutes, I'm running through the mountains because like there's mountains all around us and I'm just on a road. And there's like a couple of small trailers here and there, like sporadically put out. And so I'm looking for him for like 5 minutes, and then I come to my senses, and I'm like, okay, he's scared, something's happened, and he's scared. He won't come out, leave, and go call 911. So that's what I done, and I called 911, and I'm assuming that he also was on the phone with them, possibly still, because about that time as I'm coming out of the holler, because I couldn't on this mountain that I was on, and it was in the Mayking area, and so I was like, they ain't really great service there anyway.
No.
So by the time I get down the mountain and I call 911 and I'm like, I can't find my child. I don't know what's happened to him. I said, I'm worried because he knew not to move and he wasn't in my car when I got back to it. And that is out of character for him. Well, they were like, ma'am, calm down. We just had a boy call in telling us that his mother had just been shot. So I'm going to get to what happened with him.
Jesus.
And
oh, man.
kind of go more into detail about that. Just bear with me. Yeah, because just hearing that, so you could just imagine where this is probably going.
Yeah.
So, sorry, y'all. I'm trying not to get emotional where I start crying because then nobody will understand
It's okay.
me.
Yeah. We cry a lot
take
here.
Your time. Yeah,
it's not easy to talk about.
It's not. When it comes to your babies, it's not.
Well, I mean, and then let alone that, I feel like I failed as a mom that day. I could have taken him to the rec center first, or a thousand things went through my mind.
Right, but
and it just I didn't, and that's just not how the cards fell. But we had tried to warn him how people were around here. That's still don't make none of about what I'm about to tell you all okay.
No.
So I get back to the car, can't find him, get off there. I'm on the phone with 911, and I pass the ambulance. So everything in me told me to turn around, and I did, and I followed it. And I followed it back to my son, who had ran through the mountains, down the mountain, and through the creek. And this was right after the last flood last year.
Oh, gosh.
The last flood that we had. Sorry, I start shaking. I get so angry when I think about it, too.
How old was he,
So
Trish?
This was right after that flood when that happened. And it, at that time, he was just 16.
Oh, man.
But still. So everything else I'm going to tell you what I found out happened to him once I did get with him. So, anyway, I follow the ambulance. I find my baby. First thing I done, of course, I hug him. And I'm like, why did you get out of the car? And he told me, Mommy, I didn't have a choice. He said, those men came to the car and they put a gun in my face and they told me to get out. He said, and I did. And then they told me to run inward run. He said, and I did because I was scared. And so he ran through the mountain and down the mountain. And I'm talking about in the forest area, not on a road. And he was all scraped up and soaking wet. So I asked him what he wanted to do. And I told him, because we were waiting on the Kentucky State Police at that point, which I don't think they ever done nothing. Because they asked me who it was. Well, I didn't know who the people were. Honest hand on Bible, had no idea. Had never seen these people before in my life, except for like a girl I recognized from working somewhere in Letcher County, but couldn't tell you where. And there was nothing I could do about it. And I told the officers what happened and told them where I came from. And they were supposed to be driving up there to check on it. But that was it. That was all that happened. At that moment, though, really, the only thing I cared about was getting him home and making him feel safe again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So we left and I got him home. He jumped in straight immediately over, and then the next day I took him to the doctor because I was worried where he had ran through the creek, in the waters, and how everybody lets their sewage just run into it and stuff. But after that, the psychological damage it done to him was ridiculous. Like, he still goes to therapy and stuff.
That's heartbreaking.
And I honestly believe which brought me to another part of the research that I done went in doing this. You know, that alone, because we had been through that, made me want to do this. And then when I heard Ty say that, it really made me want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I asked her, I was like, hey, would you be interested? And of course, she's always so lovely and wonderful and said yes. But that's not never been told to nobody before. But that's what I've been talking about when I say what happened to my baby. And I mean, and it happened to me too. And I have some sort of degree of, you know, trauma from it.
Well,
And I'm in
because of
therapy
what
too,
because of what you've been
it's
through
just
already with
that's
your husband, you know, you probably automatically, you know, there's that
Already
fear
got
of,
your guard up.
you
That
know,
PTSD is already in
right,
effect.
right,
Yeah. That's something that I think it gets
oh God,
overlooked a
yes.
lot
Yeah, and
is
it is. It
whenever
is.
something tragic happens or something scary, something traumatizing, not just for children, but for adults too, it's the lasting implications that has on your life.
yeah,
These things can last a lifetime.
yep.
Now,
It
take
makes
that from a
you
child's perspective.
Yeah. And they do for
yeah,
a lot of
Like
people.
the damage
Yeah, I mean,
that is done,
well, it went from
it can be irreversible in some cases. Some
it's
people can
unrepairable
suffer
sometimes.
for,
right, especially when it comes to, you know, the situation you're dealing with, you know,
yeah,
it's
Yeah. And it's already stressful on him having his dad out of the home
right,
and having things be so abnormal, things always being so stressful, him seeing me worried all the time. Like, he don't need to think this is how life's supposed to be lived, because it's not. What we're going through is unique and it's wrong.
right,
I mean, I'm not saying that other people don't go through it, but our specific situation in general, not just
right,
because he's African American or because my son's mixed race, but he's not listed as mixed race. He's listed as African American because that's the way he'll always be viewed.
yeah,
And that's the reason I gave him that. Because there's never going to be one white person to ever look at my little boy and see white in him, probably other than me. And the only reason I can say that I see it in him is because I see me in him. So, and I am white, and I can't help that. But, yeah, I'm just going to be honest with you, and this sounds horrible. Our race is, like,
we're the
blindly
London. A lot of us
racist
on the
at
London.
times. You know what I'm saying? They're like kind of right. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just don't know. Like, there was even things that I didn't even know I was saying to his dad that was racist.
right,
Like
because of
getting
the way
arguing,
microaggressions,
we
and
things
I
that
would
are
were.
say,
so
"Lord boy,"
normalized that you don't even realize. Yeah.
So what the
because saying that it was so normalized to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know no better,
right,
and still
and
didn't
you know,
understand for like a long time. But when I did, I was like, I felt horrible. I literally cried. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that that's what I was saying.
right.
But we say
Well,
things and
we
not
don't
know what they
realize,
mean all the time. And
you know, our culture that we were
yeah,
raised in,
that's
and
true.
you know,
We
don't
don't
make it right at
realize the
all.
things that we say.
Uh-oh,
I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
Sorry.
Are you
Oh my
there?
God. Yeah. Where did everybody go? Can you hear
I
me?
don't know. I can hear
Oh
you. I
no.
can't see you. I can't see none of us.
Yeah, I can't either. I accidentally.
Racism
There,
is a
There she is.
core social
Sorry.
determinant of child health that has persuasive. Still here.
Okay.
Trish,
Our
It
picture
says I'm
disappeared from the
backstage.
screen.
are you okay now?
I think it's
Trish
trying to
is
come back. There's Trisha back up. We're glitching.
Okay, it says I'm in the show now. I'm back
Okay.
in it.
okay.
Sorry. She said screen was black, but the sound is
I
good.
can hear you, Brandy, but I don't see you yet.
It might come
Yeah,
back.
I'm
It'll
backstage,
put
I
itself
think.
back to rights in a second, I'm sure. Sorry to interrupt. Okay. I don't know why
Okay,
that's.
Ty, she says she's still backstage too.
Well, shoot. Almost.
Well, I'm not no more, but Brandy is backstage.
Is she?
Yeah.
That's what she
It says
says.
I'm in the
Yeah. Well, I'm
show,
sure
but
she is because that's what she said.
yeah.
Oh, okay. It
Uh,
says she's in the show.
Okay,
Now,
well, I just had to take her back out and put her back in. So that
okay.
might fix it. We might come back on screen in a minute. I don't know what the problem is.
Oh, okay.
So sorry.
Or let Trish
I don't
keep
know. I only
talking.
see me on
Yeah,
there.
I
Period. I don't
just go ahead
see you
and
or Brandy.
I don't want to disrupt you
Yeah, go
by the
ahead and keep.
technology glitching because it's
Oh
going
no,
to do
you're
that
good.
probably the whole time. I don't know why.
There we are.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Well,
See,
just in
I
case
don't know
someone
what
else just
it does. It has a
okay.
mind of its own, and just ignore it. And unless they pop up in the chat and say I can't hear you, then we should be good. But, so, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Where were we?
Okay. Okay. Well, that last quote I read, it was by Trent et al. 2019. And I think I may have forgot to update those, and I'm supposed to. And the only reason I'm going to call that out is just
We can
because
fix
I'm
it. We
trying to
can
get
add it in
myself
later.
used to doing everything proper.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's on the
As
video
long as you've
description.
got
I
like
just
a
don't think I said it
YouTube's
whenever
not
I
that
read them
strict as
all.
long as you've got like a basic rundown of like here's where I found this information, or you can find it yourself at on this website or gives
Oh,
you this
okay.
name.
Well,
You
Yeah.
know
cool.
what I mean? Like
All
YouTube's
right.
not real strict about it, and it's more
All right.
it's not as strict as if we were writing it, like in an article or something. So
I
Right.
think where
Right.
she's
Or an
had trouble
independent talk or
keeping
something like
videos
that.
up,
I understand.
it's like being
yeah,
careful
Yeah,
yeah,
so that
God,
the
I know
message
it.
can get out,
And
yeah, definitely.
well, right, because the message here is that this is not just being. So now he has his own racial stress trauma, which you said talking about things that go unlooked a while ago, Ty, and that's why I'm so glad you mentioned that because that was the one thing I wanted to talk about, and I hadn't even mentioned it. But something called racial stress trauma disorder. And I'm going to ask his doctors whenever he goes back to check him out for that because that's something I feel like he could be experiencing. And it's something nice to know given the things that he's been through, has he experienced that? Because not only did that happen to him that day personally, but what he said to 911 was, I think I just seen someone kill my mother or murder my mom. I'm not exactly sure how they said it now. But regardless, he just went through something traumatic. He hadn't even had time to process that because he thought somebody shot and killed me. And he was
Yeah.
trying to process that because he didn't call in and say, hey, somebody put a gun to my face and I'm running from them and I'm scared for my life. He called and said, I think someone just killed my mom. Because
Yeah.
as he was running away, they was shooting the gun off. And the
Oh
minute
my
I turned
God.
around and I told them that he was under 18, they scattered like bugs. I never seen them after that. The only thing I will say was one of them's girlfriend and an older gentleman that came out there during all the commotion helped me look. In the few minutes I was looking for him before I went to call 911, even though I'm sure that those were people that was out there and involved in it just as much, they still helped me look, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Because regardless, all jokes aside at that moment, that's no longer just some black person
Right.
or some African American person
Yeah.
or some whatever you might want to look at them as.
Became
That's underage.
yeah.
That you're going to be liable for if something happens to them.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me mad is that, why wouldn't he look at as if somebody being in the car? And why they had to go put a gun in his face to make him get out? He wasn't bothering nobody. He had the doors locked, waiting on me to come back. I wasn't in nobody's driveway. I was parked on a public road.
Right.
And I left my car on a public road for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you can't just pull in somebody's driveway with an African American in your car, or you get met with things like that of
And
that
see, it's a
nature.
shame that
And
you
that's
even have to
pitiful.
think like
That's the
that.
kind of crap that
You
goes
know,
on here. It ain't
that's
just being
that's
my
the sad
husband,
part
honey. And I didn't
is that
even know
you
I had
even
to
have to
think like that
think.
till his dad came down here. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I had to
And
think
then,
like that.
and he just, you
So
all,
wrong.
the guilt I have felt for what my son went through that day is just unspeakable. It is. I'm not gonna lie. I feel so awful and guilty just for having him in my vehicle at all that day with me. Even though I was giving him a ride to some place he wanted to go, just because nobody wants to think. No one's ever gonna come put a gun in your boss kid's face. They're white. White privilege is real.
Yeah.
Whether people want to recognize it or not, it is.
Yeah.
But the damage that done to him mentally, I went from having a little boy that laughed and joked now and then to one that just never said nothing ever.
Yeah.
To the point that I was like, oh no, you're going to get therapy. You need help. Whether you realize you need help or not, you need help. And no, I'm not saying it's nothing that you've done wrong. It's because someone's done something wrong to you, honey.
But there's so
And
many things
it's
that
hard to
our
make
kids,
someone, a teenager especially, in that.
right. That's what I was going to say. As a teenager, he's probably gone through things that he's not even told you about. I know my boys was like that with me. If it was something they knew would
Oh yeah.
really upset me, they would just not tell me. And so, I'm sure he's had to endure things over the years that people have, said or, treated him differently that, you probably don't even know, as far as all of it. And, you
No,
so dead
well, they
on to get
are.
him into some kind of counseling.
Mhm. Well, they definitely are. And there are the things that I do know about, like all the racism that he deals with at school, even now.
Mm.
So the kids don't even realize that they're being racist. And he's like, I'm not going to keep correcting them. They
Yeah.
don't even see that they're doing. Some of the
Yeah.
same little boys or girls, or we'll just say children altogether, some of the same children he's going to school with that claim that I love Drayden, or they might say, I love him to death, blah, blah, this, and that. And in the same very next sentence are telling black jokes to him. To right to where when I seen it happening, I put a stop to that. I was like, you're not going to do that crap in front of me. You
Yeah.
might put up with it, son, and not say nothing to him, but I'm not going to sit here and watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's not okay, because that's something, and I don't know if it was talking with you or Tabias that I said this to Ty, but talking to one of you all, I said, the same people that says, oh, I'm not racist, turn around and tells the black joke the very next breath.
Right.
And he deals
Yeah.
with the same exact thing.
Um,
And he's been dealing with racism since kindergarten.
Yeah.
so
Kindergarten was the first time he ever
the
encountered
racial
racism.
trauma, it's a form of PTSD,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into that and break it down. Um,
Okay.
because this is something that comes up for Brandy a lot too. She'll be like, "But it didn't happen to me, but I still feel the effects of the trauma." Like from witnessing it. That's one of the things
Yeah,
that's on this
girl.
list is it doesn't have to happen directly to you. A trauma doesn't have to happen directly to you for you to be affected and to get PTSD and stuff from them. Um so racial trauma, the basic, definition is the emotional and physiological injury caused by direct discrimination, witnessing racism, hearing about community violence or injustice, being treated as less than dangerous or other, and generational memories of oppression that's passed down through family stories or behavior. And since children don't have the emotional vocabulary to explain it so well, it shows up in behavior, body, beliefs. But it's not just an emotional thing. Whenever we're traumatized, It literally
No, it's not.
rewires the stress systems. It rewires the brain to function in a different way. So kids may live in a state of threat readiness, like, when your nervous system, like everything is firing
Yeah.
because you're constantly in a state of panic, or you're always looking over your shoulder or worried. Like, we've all got experience with that, I
I'm
And
think.
that's
horrible.
exactly what he was living in, Ty.
Yeah,
Yeah. Said
that
that
baby.
because they can be,
Well,
treated unfairly at school, they see their parents dealing with racism. They internalize the stereotypes. They watch the violence toward people who look like them. They hear the stories in your family sitting around the dinner table. You have to give them the warnings and teach them and educate them about these things to prepare them and make them strong enough to face it without it
Oh, yeah.
fracturing them as a person, So, some of the symptoms, though, and I want to just read off a few of these to you and ask you about his, if that's okay. Like, does he have any of these? Does he present with any of these? Like hypervigilance or sleep
Yeah,
problems,
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
angry outbursts,
Mhm.
startle responses, shutting down.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and the way it affects the brain, long term, the amygdala is your threat detector, so it becomes overactive. Your prefrontal
Definitely.
cortex, which is in charge of focus and
But he
planning,
would.
it becomes underactive under stress. So your amygdala is firing off overactively while your prefrontal cortex is shutting down and going underactive. While the hippocampus, which is in charge of memory and learning, it affects that because of, the overactiveness and the underactiveness.
kind of like
So
imprints on you,
this comes out in ways like
Right.
a lot of kids are misdiagnosed with ADHD because they have attention difficulties, being able to focus or to follow directions, difficulty learning, trouble regulating emotions, forgetfulness, lower frustration tolerances. And just think about all the videos and stuff that we see of kids interacting with each other and the stress that they're under. There is no wonder these kids lose their minds. There's no wonder
Yeah.
when you think
Yeah,
of all the
exactly.
ways
Well,
that
what I
it's
was going to say
bombarding
is
them
that
with this
for.
same kind of trauma. They're experiencing it in their personal lives. They're witnessing it through their friends. They're witnessing it through their families. They're witnessing it on TV. It's on their social media feeds.
They're watching their father live it.
There you go. That's what
Yes.
I was getting ready
Watching
to
Their
their
say.
mother
dad live
live
it
it.
without him being at home to
Yeah.
guide them, So I can
Right.
only
And you know
imagine.
what? And that's what really gets under my skin more than anything is because right now is when he needs his guidance the most to,
Yeah.
navigate these waters that I don't know
And
nothing about. Well, I mean, I know it's only from my perspective. Okay. I can't even pronounce it. Mudzongo et al. 2025 said, despite recognition of racism as a public health crisis, racial trauma remains inconsistently defined and under research. So that's something that's not really been researched enough. And
yeah.
No.
okay, I know you guys probably can agree with me when I say this. Our doctors here probably ain't checking for it.
Oh,
They
no.
don't. Do they even know to check for it? Are they even educated to check for it? Because
Probably not.
we're in white America, where I mean,
Probably not.
Well, like you was
the
saying, there's
systemic
such a
racism
small
in healthcare systems,
population.
not just here but all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our area, like you was saying, there's such a small
Well,
African
and
American
one of the biggest
population.
ways I've seen it,
They're
and
probably not doing the
it
research.
is. But the thing that you
Yeah.
mentioned that I seen happen with Drayden a lot right after that, and one of those symptoms was anytime anybody come to our door, he would have to get up and check to see who it was before he felt safe.
Yeah.
Not because the people knew where we lived, because we didn't know them. Of course,
Right.
they didn't know where we lived. So he just did not feel that safe to where he didn't even feel safe at home. And when you make my child feel unsafe at home, that's a whole different story. You get a whole different kind of parent out of somebody then.
You
And
know,
that's
Trish,
what
he
these people are
probably
going to
felt
get
like
from
he
me,
was
is a whole
protecting
different kind of
you.
person.
He was protecting you also,
He could have,
where,
and
you
he could
know, he
have,
thought something had
because
happened to you.
right, and that could have been a lot of it, because Drayden don't go nowhere. He don't go out and
Yeah.
hang out with people, and he don't have people come to the house and hang out with him. It ain't because they ain't welcome. His friends are always welcome here. It ain't because he ain't welcome to go. He knows he can come and go as he pleases, because I can trust my child like that.
Yeah.
And that says a lot to have a parent say, I can my child just tells me where he goes, he can go, and he can just let me know as long as I know when he'll be back and who he's going with. I don't care where he goes. But something else that Ty mentioned a while ago too that I've also had to do is have that talk with him. I just recently went and got him an ID made because he hasn't got his permit yet. So he always has ID on him to talk about what he does whenever a cop stops him, how to act, what not to do, what to do. Because I basically had to do that one child, which me off, because not an ex-parent, but that it even has to be done. Because you can, just as much as I trust him to go out that door, I do have to know who he's with and where he's going to be at. Because if he's not home at a certain time, he knows I'm going to come looking for him, because he knows the kind of mama he got. Which he probably plays into me not knowing half or near an even third of the things he's been through.
Yeah.
Because he don't want to get me upset and riled up, because he knows how I'll react. And it just is what it is. You get what you get with me. Now, him and his father are more level-headed, cool people. But you know what? It's not necessarily because they even want to be. It's because they're kind of forced to be. And that's like treating them like they're an animal then. That's not okay. They're not. They're just another human being. They're no better than me. I'm no better than them. But our world, we don't live in that world yet, you all.
No.
Sadly.
And it's sad.
Especially not in this community.
So sad.
Some ways to support children that's experiencing racial trauma is to give the emotional support, validate their experience, tell them that was wrong. You're not
It's wrong in them. Yeah, not
like be direct. And the gaslighting of, oh no, didn't mean nothing by it.
Or people around here, they act like that. I've heard that so many times. Oh, they just act like that. Just
or like they try to make it back a reflection of you, as if you are the problem, by invalidating his feelings or by validating their experiences and acknowledging, like, that can make a big impact on how they proceed with it, and how they're able to heal themselves in the future.
Right.
Give words to feelings.
Something I wanted.
Unfair, and unfairness can feel scary or confusing. Like, try to help them put a label on it that can help with it, like, manifesting itself in behavioral ways, and less desirable behaviors and stuff. But strengthening their identity, with representation in books, art, heroes, teaching cultural pride.
Probably hard though when you don't have that community support
or culture. Your culture is powerful. Like, there's a lot of body regulation, the same kind of things that we would use.
Sis, I
Shoes and
was going to say,
around. Like, whenever Leah calls me in a panic, I tell her, take off your shoes. First thing. That's the first thing. Take a deep breath. Take off your shoes. Go stand outside on the ground. Give it back to the earth. Let the earth teach you how to heal it. And that seems to help. But movement, safety routine, sensory calming, just all the normal things. But as far as the cognitive skills go, now here's where you can get to where you can really make a difference in the here and now and in the future is to teach them how to name the microaggressions. Like you mentioned that a while ago, Trish, that somebody will say, well, I'm not racist. And then the next thing out of their mouth is a joke that refers to your race, or something of the sort. Role play responses help them identify safe adults. And
exactly. I wanted, because I did do both sides of that. I was looking on how to help.
mm-hmm.
This.
Let me back up though, because I was going to tell you, you said that what I was talking about and what you were talking about, I'm assuming they're the same thing, but what I researched said that, just let me read you this quote so it gets the point across what I'm trying to say. Racial trauma contributes uniquely to PTSD risk, yet remains under-recognized in clinical practice. So even though it can lead to PTSD risk, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have PTSD with it.
Yeah.
You can just have that specifically a part of just having PTSD. I guess I was trying. But one of the things, there was some therapies that I found that people can do if they know that they're experiencing that. And I'm trying to scroll down through my notes real quick to.
We need to quit normalizing it too. That it.
My hair's at a funny stage.
Right.
Trying to grow it back out, it won't stay up. Okay.
That's
something. Some like exercises and stuff that. How do you all deal with stress?
Yeah, because we normally he's going to go through this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious as to like did you have a lot of? I'm sure that you did, but did you have the conversation before that happened? Of the dangers
of just living in that area, or
been over that much with him.
Yeah, I would about it more than we talk about anything. We talk about racism in our house.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
He made a comment one day, well, am I putting on a show for somebody or?
Right.
I'm like, no, make yourself as to a child beside you. Don't. They can go out here and act and not the rest of their life. You can go out here and stick a gun and that be right for you.
Is it cutting out for?
Can you hear me, or am I cutting out?
You were cutting out. I didn't.
I think it was just your service for a second there. It might be back now. Sorry.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard then?
You was kind of talking about like normalizing it, like talking about you said Todd asked you if you had talked to him before or after.
Yeah, well, I have talked to him both, actually. I've been talking to him about this since he was about 10, 11 years old when I first started having these talks with him. He was around 10. Because he was a taller 10, and so I knew he would be seen as a teenager probably, and he's still just a little kid at that point.
Yeah.
And so I felt like even at 10 years old, I need to go ahead and start warning him the things that he can go through. And, his father has told him some of his stories growing up, the things he went through with friends. Like he had this one friend that every time he went to stay all night with him, the dad would make his son fight him to try to get him to beat him up so he could say, well, my son whooped him. But he never did beat him up, though. So it just never worked out for him. So he ended up having to stop going and staying with him. Yeah,
Like I
so I
said,
mean,
I
this
feel
has
like,
affected even my husband all the way back to his childhood.
right, I feel like they have that. I guess the racism was just so normalized. You know what I mean? Like too normalized in our area. And like you was talking about how sometimes with the jokes, and Ty was talking about how we would say something and not realize I shouldn't say that, or why you shouldn't say that. But
Right.
there has to start being some kind of education,
And
about
accountability.
it's okay
Yeah.
to be different. It's okay to that shouldn't scare you into treating someone awful because they're different, or I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if it's coming out, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you are coming across right. And we actually watched a movie I had never seen the other night, and I'm kind of glad that I seen it now. Wicked. Have y'all seen it?
I haven't
It's
Yes.
seen it
about the
yet,
Wizard
but
of
I want
Oz.
to.
Oh my God. Is that not just like the perfect example?
I love it. Me
I
and
haven't
Dustin
seen it
watched
yet.
one the other day that was really good. It was called The Green Book. Have you
Hmm.
seen it?
I ain't seen it, I don't think.
It's got
Mm-mm.
who's that? Vigo Mortensen in it, and
No, I ain't seen it.
he's like a driver, and like a car driver, and it's set back in the 60s. And the guy that hires him to be his driver is a black man, and it goes
I have
from him
seen the
being like
like
this like Italian,
pieces
like
of it.
very racist, coming from a very racist family, like mafia style family. And then he breaks away from that and goes to work for this black man as his personal driver and bodyguard, and drives him across the country to do a tour. And oh my God, it is
I have
so
seen
good, and it is
pieces of
so
it, and it
touching
looks great.
and so educational. And it will open a lot of people's eyes, I think, if they watched
I'm gonna
it.
have to watch that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
it,
should.
it
You should get your kids to watch it.
like I said, I
I'm
haven't
gonna
It's
seen
send a
got
all of it,
message
but
to
the
myself
clip.
to
some
watch it
adult
later.
elements in it. I mean, obviously it's dealing with racism, but there's some other like adult themes and stuff throughout it. But they're kind of interspersed, and they do a very good job of
Yeah,
presenting it without making it more traumatizing.
then it.
Trying to get the point across.
Yeah,
But it's a beautiful story. It's a true story.
Wow.
It really happened, and it changed like his whole family.
Oh, really?
Like the Italian guy, it changed his whole, the way they did everything from then on out. Like whenever he got back from that trip, his whole attitude about everything had changed, and then he brought that into the home. They say a lot that the man sets the tone in the home, and like in my
Yeah, and
personal
it's true.
experience with a
Well,
lot of these
that's the way
men
it's
around
designed to
here,
be.
it's like they're
right.
indoctrinated to be
And
racist.
because
Like
of your husband's
whenever
race,
they
it's
start telling
almost
them at a young age that there's a problem with it, that anybody that's different is wrong or bad. So we've come a long way in what we've learned in my marriage just over the years, like with the background that he came from, and then just where my heart is. I was having a really hard time with it. And it's been like night and day over the last few years, like the differences, the strides that Dusto has made to break through from that mindset and indoctrination that was like forced on him from the time he was a small child. He didn't know that it was bad to hate people.
Yeah.
He really didn't. He didn't understand the impact that it really had on others just to have that attitude. But he does now, and it's been a beautiful thing to witness
All right,
and to be
just to
part
have the
of.
attitude that you're better than somebody else.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Or
yep.
that
For any
we're
reason,
I guess
especially
I just don't
because of your skin color.
understand.
Yeah.
I will never in my life, you all, understand how a white man from another country got away with coming to now America, stealing land from my ancestors, which were Indians,
Yeah.
and then going to Africa, stealing their actual people and bringing them here to slave over land that they stole from someone else.
to
and
start with.
call it okay.
Right.
And then to make them feel and to treat them like they're less than. Because
Right.
I got news for Christian people. Like, if you read your Bible, Jesus most likely was African American or was seen as being darker skinned. Because it says he was recognized as one of
No,
the
he wasn't
He
white.
Ethiopians.
wasn't white.
He wasn't white.
Come from the
He
cradle of
wasn't white,
civilization
pale-eyed, and pasty
as a white man.
skin.
No. No.
I know it, but you know what I'm saying? Where it says he was recognized as being Ethiopian, but not one of them, but looked like them.
Yes.
I think they're starting to find now,
But
too,
they know
we
that
have
he
a lot
wasn't one of
of
them. You know what I'm saying?
Black natives
But we all
here.
grew up with that picture hanging on the wall of the blonde, blue-eyed Jesus, you know. So
Yeah,
it's
That's what
like,
I said.
yeah. So
no.
the
Like, Jesus
racial
went in
trauma
pasty
thing,
skin with pretty sparkly blue eyes.
Yeah.
it
No.
don't just affect how they feel, it affects how they learn, how they socialize, how they regulate emotions, how they see themselves, how they understand the world, how they see other people. But healthy support builds resilience, secure identity, emotional intelligence, strong community connections, and children heal when they're
Well,
believed, protected, represented, and
We
empowered.
need community education.
Yes.
We really do need
Yeah.
community education about
yes.
topics, with like this, because like we was talking in the beginning that the population of African Americans, there's not a large population, and I'm sure they feel not very represented, when it comes to anything, in our county. And there's not really, that kind of, or there's not really been that kind of education or things that we need as a community,
Yeah.
Well, something I wanted to share too, Todd, was that along with that, I did research how treatments that you could have, and well, these were evidence-based therapy approaches that people could
Uh-huh.
take to get help if they have experienced that or know someone who is
That's
or
what I wanted to
suffering.
ask you to
Because
touch
even if
on. I
you
heard
might
you
not
mention that.
experience it, maybe you know somebody that has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of them was cognitive behavioral therapy. And how it helps is it identifies and reframes harmful thought patterns caused by racism. And, therapists will integrate discussions of race and discrimination directly into CBT sessions. So that way it can help bring them reverse kind of what's been done. And then there's cognitive processing therapy, and that focuses on challenging distorted beliefs about self and safety after racial trauma. And this is useful for intrusive thoughts and guilt tied to racist encounters. I guess that probably would be something that would be helpful for me.
Yeah. I found some links here. I'll share them.
Because I have tremendous guilt over what happened when I was here.
Oh no.
Okay, I got just a couple more of these,
Okay.
if you don't care. There's
Yeah, go right
prolonged
ahead. I'm
exposure,
going
and
to
that
try to
helps
find some links for resources for these things as you tell me the different things. I've got a CBT workbook, a free one that people can download as a PDF. And I
Okay,
want
well, I
to
can send you
share
all
those
this
links.
if
We'll make us a post and put a whole thing together if you want to with something you've written for the social medias and to put on our YouTube page, like to, direct people to the video and provide a little bit deeper information of how to deal with it. Like what do we do now that we're in this hot mess of a fucking trauma pool? As a community, the whole everybody is dealing with trauma. So this stuff could be useful for many
right,
people,
even
for
if it
many
ain't racial
situations,
trauma, it might
even if
help
it's
them
not
with just
racism. Like these are still the same therapies that
right,
you would need, like for
right.
other forms of trauma and PTSD and stuff as well. So, um, I was I want to make me
Okay,
a list as you go. So I've got the CBD or the
okay.
cognitive behavioral therapy. What was the second one? Cognitive what?
Processing therapy.
Processing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
The next one is prolonged exposure. And this helps clients gradually face memories and racial trauma in a safe environment. And this, so people who do better to kind of take it head on and tackle their own demons, I would imagine that might be helpful for them because it reduces avoidance and hypervigilance in symptoms. So that will help with those kinds of symptoms. Because there's what it is it's kind of like it's a chart, and I'll try to take a screenshot and send you the screenshot of the chart because it tells you the therapy, and then I have how it helps, and then I have kind of what it helps. Okay. And then there's also a little link attached to it to where you can go and read more about that if you would like to on that. So I'll take a screenshot here in a minute.
The prolonged exposure.
Prolonged exposure.
It's one of the strongest and most evidence-based therapies for PTSD and trauma. It literally teaches you how to retrain your brain to stop reacting like the danger is now. It fixes your flight or fight response. It takes you out of that constant fight, flight, or freeze mode and gives your brain the opportunity to, rewire.
Do something more normalized, probably. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready for the next one?
Ready for the next one.
It is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and it's called EMDR. And what this says is it uses bilateral stimulation to reprocess traumatic racial experiences. And this is effective for trauma symptoms, but requires culturally competent framing. And I think that's very important to emphasize on that right there, because from what I read about that one, it really does require that culturally competent framing in order for that to be pretty much effective.
Right. And probably don't have that.
The EMDR, though, is what
there
makes
any
it one of the most effective trauma therapies is that it works differently.
Trish, is there any places nearby that does that kind of, that has that kind of specialized training? I mean,
girl,
I figured probably not.
That's the one thing I didn't really find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really find that out. Because I literally just mentioned this to her like 2 days ago. Whenever I just thought about all this. And so this is just all the stuff I found, which there's a lot that I haven't even touched on, went over, and probably won't get to, because there's a lot behind all this stuff. And so y'all ain't just taking, I don't ever expect somebody just to take me for my word, because who does that? I mean, come on. Any days. Who gives somebody credit these days? You know what I'm saying? So I make sure I do my research and that I can back up what I say. Or at least I thought I could, and this is where I got it from. If I can't, I'm not bad like that, but I try to be.
Yeah.
But since she's not on here, I'm going to go through and read the rest of these off too. But let me ask you a question, Brandy.
Yeah.
Would you ever think that you would have you ever had to warn your child before they left the house? Hey, if you get pulled over by police, don't move too quick, and make sure you say this and that, and just all these warning signs that that I'm having to give as a mom. Is that ever even been a thought to cross your mind?
It wasn't until mine started getting arrested, and getting in a lot of trouble, but not to the extent that you have to worry, because, if my kid, if his car broke down, he could probably go knock on a door and ask for help, which, and I hate to say this, but your son would not be able to in our area. and that's what I'm saying. You know, there's going to have to be some kind of something, you know, because it's not fair. It's not fair,
Right.
you know, that you have to
Well, I
worry.
will tell you this, something that I taught my son, and this, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brandy,
Oh, you're
but this
fine.
is just what you said. What you said reminded me of this though. The reason my son went to the person's house that they went to was a statue they had in their yard. And whether they realized it or not, it was the same statue that was in white people's yards. So African Americans know that they could come there and they would get help with the Underground Railroad. Pretty much that was your calling card for saying, hey, I'm cool with African American people.
Right.
And, you know, back in that time when the Underground Railroad was taking place, they had statues that white people had in their yards. And that when the African American passed by and they seen that statue, they knew they could go to that house for help. And that's how they got around. That's how they knew. And that's how they went undetected, because nobody said it. Only only African American people knew it. And if you did know it and was white, it was because you was down with it.
Yeah.
Here's a neat little fact. You know the barn quilts? You see the big quilt patches painted on the sides of barns and stuff? That was created as a map system for the Underground Railroad. That's why they started doing
that
that,
too. That
to
was
give
another.
I didn't
directions.
know
Like,
that.
this is safe. They're taking women and children, or taking men, and or like where to go and how, what your next stop is. It would be encoded in those quilt patterns, and it would give directions. Some of them functioned as maps. Some of them functioned as like just a sign to say, like, this is who your trusted people are, or this
It's
is who
sad
not to
though that we
trust.
should
Well,
have to
most of the
tell
time,
any race
Kaya, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
Well, let me tell you
to
what a
look.
really interesting thing that I think is very cool even now, is about that, is that, do you know what their biggest map was back then?
No.
It was their hair.
Oh,
They
the
used their
braids.
hair, and that's
Oh,
why
I
they're
just got
called
chills. Yes,
cornrows.
I'm glad you brought that
Yes.
up too.
I
Yes, it
didn't
was
know
in the
that.
braids.
Yes.
The way the
I thought
pattern
that was
they
wonderful.
would
Yes, that was
braid in
how they
patterns
knew
and
which
maps
way to
right into
go.
their heads, and
That
that's
is
just
Yep.
brilliant.
brilliant. I mean,
Yep,
that's
just
brilliant.
So we're
Yeah.
talking about people that are probably 10 times more intelligent than we are, and
Resourceful.
smart enough to get out from underneath us, and resourceful.
Survivors.
Right.
Yeah.
Resourceful,
Yeah.
intelligent, you know. But
Yes.
you have all the negative things that, you know, that they're up
Yes.
against that we're not, you know, we don't have to, you know, those things are things we don't think about, you know. Like I said, I didn't know none of that, you know.
Well,
And
I took a history course, Brandy, and I actually learned it in it, because I wanted to study. I could have either studied my people, Indians, or studied African American, or studied women. And I think they had another race I could have studied, but I didn't even worry about that. When I seen women, Indians, and African Americans, I was like, it's going to be one of those three.
yeah.
But ultimately, I chose to study African Americans to understand my husband and my son's culture better. And it absolutely broke my heart the whole 5 weeks I was in that course, because it just drove me insane. The things that I would learn, the things that people that I'm considered my people done to that race. It's just, I understand why they look at a race and view us the way that they do. I don't necessarily think that it's always right, because not all of us are like that. But at the same time, I still understand it. And they still, I mean, it'll be centuries before there would ever be any kind of right ever made wrong. I mean, wrong ever made right. I said that backwards. Right. But any wrong ever made right. And especially when a lot of it is
denied.
Yeah.
You know, especially when a lot of the history is denied, or you know, oh no, you know, yeah, you can't fix what you don't accept. You know.
Okay, Ty, there was only 2 more of these that I had listed on here. I was going to tell you
Okay,
about,
I've got to,
sis.
let's see if they're on my list, because I've got some other, like, kind of, I guess, I wouldn't really call them alternative therapies, but not
Okay,
your normal, what you're going to find in a clinic kind of therapy. So what's your other two, your
right.
next one?
The next one I got in my notes is group therapy and grief rituals, and those are
Mm,
kind of
those are
go
powerful.
together,
Yeah,
right? And those validate collective racial trauma and disenfranchised grief. And counselors will use these to facilitate rituals or group sharing to process historical and cultural loss. And I think, that's something really important is to, shedding the light that we're shedding on this. It's very, very important now more than it ever has been, because if it's still taking place, even after all the laws and stuff that's been passed, I mean,
Yeah.
let alone his constitutional rights have been broken, his human rights have been violated and
Yes.
broken. And
yeah,
not just my husband, but my sons as well. His right as a human just to sit freely in a public road, not
Yeah.
doing nothing in a locked car.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
someone took that away from him. And I'll never forget those people's face. And heaven help them if I ever run into them. Not saying anything, just saying,
right,
I'm not cool headed like that. And heaven help me. Let me say that, because I don't know if I could control myself. I don't know if I could help it.
right.
Like I
Not
said,
after
when it comes
everything
to
that
your
we've been through.
kids, you know,
It's
So,
one thing to hurt me. It's one thing to hurt his father. It's a whole nother to hurt my baby.
yeah.
yeah. Have you ever done any kind of somatic trauma therapies or body-based therapies, like somatic
Oh,
experiences, sensory motor psychotherapy, polyvagal therapy, trauma sensitive yoga, breath work?
hmm,
They're using breath work to combat addiction in Australia
really?
and facilities in Western
I could see
USA
that.
has
I could
they are
see
using
that.
breath work and somatic stuff, because the thing with
If it
addiction,
can
that's
get
the
you
part
through
that everybody
labor,
missing. It's not a disease, and you would not be an addict if it was not. Like everybody's got habits and things. Habits, not an
Right.
addiction, not the same thing. And all of these like heavy addictions are usually triggered by some kind of trauma, whether it be sexual, racial, domestic, like, or just environmental.
So,
Like, I think we have
right.
environmental trauma now. Like, it's just part of being an earthling at this point. So, that's the part that you have to treat. You can't just treat the substance use, you can't just treat the mental, like the diagnoses. Like, if you're bipolar or whatever, that's well and good. But if you're not taking care of that trauma, then you're never going to solve the problem. You're never going to get
That's
out from
true.
got to address that trauma head on, whether it's through CBT,
Not.
yoga,
Mm-hmm.
mindful practices can go a long way with healing the psyche.
Well,
But
this last
a
one I
lot of
wanted to
people don't realize
mention.
that trauma is stored in the body. Whenever
Oh,
I go through
really?
stress, it triggers my autoimmune response, and I will have a flare up. Brandy's the same way, where she's got MS. She gets stressed out, she swells. Her face will swell up.
I look
Her
like a balloon.
like she gets completely disabled from it, and it's a trauma response.
Hmm,
That's our bodies
I
reacting
didn't know
to that
that.
fight, flight, or freeze. It's our bodies hitting that
Yeah.
freeze mode, like, or shut down.
It'll cripple me.
Women particularly store trauma in their hips,
Huh.
and whenever you have a somatic release, like, it is just that, it's a release, and like you will flood with emotion, like you feel it leave your body,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be laying there on the floor bawling and sobbing and crying, But
I felt that before in church, so I know what you're saying.
yeah,
I can totally
it's
relate.
that overwhelming,
It's almost the
like
same
just
thing.
relief, you know, of your nervous system being set free, even if it's just for a moment. But after doing that, you know, like in practice and regularly, your body starts to feel safe again. It stops holding on to all that tension and stuff. You know, a lot of people have all these bad headaches and like muscle problems and aches and pains and fibromyalgia. And there's more and more studies starting to show that it's because of the trauma and the environmental
Really?
poisons and stuff, obviously, that's weakening our systems. But the the vagal nerve can be stimulated by humming. You know, you can feel it. Put your hand on your chest, and you feel that vibration
Yeah.
that triggers your vagus nerve into like, yeah.
See,
Maybe
The
girl,
that's
more you
why they
see,
hum, to do
can't.
the
I
breath
don't. Now
work,
I'll dig deep into
move your
research, but you
body.
go like deep, deep, deep.
Yeah, I
Ty's all
mean,
You
about
go
the
like super
alternate
deep.
route of, something that
it's because
you
I
would
have
have to
been
take
through
pain
all the
medicine or,
therapies in the clinical setting. I've done that. And while there was value in it and I learned things from each type of therapy or even the medications that I've taken over the years to help deal with these things, like I learned from it, but it was never
Right.
enough by itself without taking it head on
and
and
dealing with
just
the
being
trauma.
like, okay, we've got to get this out of my body. First of all, let's relax. You're safe. Just saying that out loud to yourself. You're safe. You're safe.
It
And believe it.
relaxes your
I
You
whole
am
have
nervous
to
safe.
believe
system. I
it.
know. Mhm.
Eventually, the repetition will help your brain to rewire itself and believe it. That's how
Right.
affirmations work,
Well,
the
I mean,
power of
even
positive
just
thinking.
even
It's all
whenever
the
you
same thing.
don't
It's
make
reinforcement of the positive. You know, like it allows the body to let go of, oh my God, something bad's about to happen, and lets you relax and
right.
open up to new possibilities and things, and helps you find healing.
I'm grabbing a charger real quick, sis.
Okay.
I have to
And
grab
then
this and
there's
plug it
also
up.
like the brain based therapies and treatments. There are so many options now. But I think that the biggest thing is that there's no one modality that's going to cure it all.
No, no.
It
No,
is
because
something that has to be
there's not
done
one person
in
that's the same.
combination with different types of things like
Well,
the
and then
cognitive
like
behavioral
with me,
therapy.
like
Some
with
people do
me, if
need
you notice,
medications.
my
Some people need to
trauma
take the medicine that keeps you from having nightmares, you know,
my
like, and that's
trauma
fine.
will come flooding in. Like I
Yeah.
remember something that happened 30 years ago and be like, wait a minute. And so that's how mine's been coming lately. It's just been coming, like something that maybe happened 5 years ago and whatever. And it hit me and I just have to work through that, just work through that, get past it, and then on to the next one, I guess. But
Yeah.
I've been having to, deal with a lot of the like past traumas I think that I tucked away and just thought, well, you know,
Yeah,
we'll deal with
like
that
ignored it,
later
hoping
and
it
just
would
go
go
on.
away.
Um, touch therapies can be very effective. Like the tension and trauma release exercises, they call it tremor therapy. Like if you ever
Hmm.
watch somebody doing somatic yoga or like building up to one of these like somatic releases, the they tremble. Like their bodies, like your legs will shake and tremble and convulse. And it's because that's your muscles firing
Yeah,
as it's passing through, you know, and trying to release it. And once like you get that out, like it's much smoother.
yeah.
But it's something that has to be
I would like to
done
try that.
regularly.
That
Like
breathe,
doing it
especially
once
those
every
breathing
6 months
ones.
isn't going to help you. That's something that you need to like, you know, put into practice.
Yeah.
Bring it into your daily life, or
Like
at
she
least a
said
few
with the
times a week.
breathing ones, if breathing can get us through labor, the most painful
Yes.
experience, known
Yes.
to man, if breathing can get you through a
Oh
labor
my
and
God! Right now,
delivery
I
of
was
a
going to say
child,
the same thing.
Yep. Our
You know,
bodies are built to do what we need them to do. We have the
I was going to
ability to
say the
heal
same
ourselves
thing,
right within
Brandy.
us.
yeah, because they'll tell you you'll take the Lamaze classes to learn to, do the break, which I had C-section, so okay, but
Yeah.
but I still, took those classes, and
I'm sure you still use those breathing.
you do,
Even with a C-section, as stressful a time as that is, and you're laying there, women
yeah,
can get overwhelmed. I've seen plenty of
Hmm.
women say that they've had to use their breathing even with a C-section. They
it keeps
actually, in
wanting
my
to
Lamar's
stop.
class, had a woman come in who had a C-section, and that's what she said got her through it, was
Yeah,
knowing those breathing exercises. She said, so even if you are planning on having a C-section,
it's good to learn,
know
know
that these
them.
can still help you.
Yeah,
Right.
which,
So,
we
Right.
breathe ourselves
I
through
swear I was going to mention the same thing, though.
a lot of different things, and I have used that, throughout life to get through certain moments that, was rough. So,
there are some like neuromodulation therapies that can help calm hyperactive trauma circuits, and it's neurofeedback, like listening to alpha, or like directing alpha or theta waves to the brain. Um, it trains the brain waves to reduce hypervigilance. Meditating can also achieve this. Listening to sound frequencies and like going or experiencing a sound bath, those are very helpful too. And did you know that you can just play those sound frequencies while you sleep? You don't even have to listen to it. Like, just play it in another room while your family
No, I
sleeps, and
didn't.
you'll see a difference in your health and your emotional regulation. um Something called repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, or RTMS, and that is used for PTSD, depression, intrusive thoughts. Ketamine assisted therapy,
I'm
MDMA
wanting to
assisted
try that
therapy.
one.
Now, that ketamine, did you know that you can go
That's the one
right
I
to the
want to try.
doctor's office in Kentucky and access that now?
Really?
It's legal in
I've
Kentucky.
been talking
There
about wanting to
are
try it for a
places
while.
that you can go in, your insurance will cover it. You wear a face mask, and well, you take your medicine, and then you wear a face mask, and they lay you down, turn the lights down low. And I talked to one lady that said her office has like stars that sparkle on the ceiling, like they use a projector, to
Yeah.
create and
Well,
play
see, I
soft
had
music in the
seen,
background, or you can wear your headphones
um,
and listen to music when you lay down and have your therapy.
I'm trying to
um
remember
and
where I
like
even
candles, they light
seen
candles in there.
that was, I
That
think
one was in London.
Roseanne, was talking about how, she's been able to work through 20 years of PTSD and,
Hmm.
trauma and stuff
The
and I
ketamine,
think
I
when I
think
watched
it
it, she'd
works.
only done a couple of visits.
I think that works very similar to the way mushrooms work with trauma. The way that it makes it makes your brain rewire,
But I think
like
my
it,
trauma makes
where
me
it doesn't
clearer.
remove the memories. It'll
Right.
remind you that the memories are there, but it takes the pain and suffering out of the memory
Yeah. Like
and
I
lets
said, I
you
think my trauma makes
compartmentalize it
me
better.
Right. It
clearer
takes what the stress
sometimes.
it does to your body out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes the pain out of it. Yeah,
Well, the
the
last
effect,
one
the
I
it.
was going to mention, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Go
you.
ahead.
No, go
No,
ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't want to overtalk you,
yeah.
but I thought I didn't know if you was done. The last one I was going to mention, therapy wise, I didn't want to forget it or forget about it, because I think this one was probably one of the most important ones, especially for my own family, or the two African American fellas I got in my life. Which was the identity focus therapy, and that builds racial identity, strength, and resilience. And this encourages the clients to explore pride, belonging, and empowerment. And I think that, Tori was not ever given enough of that in his life.
No.
And I worry if Drayton has been, because
Right.
I've always told him to be proud that you are who you are, and that your skin is as pretty as it is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you're beautiful as you are, no matter what it is, no matter what color you are, baby. I always try to tell it does not matter that you're brown, son. But you'll always be called black, but understand your actual skin color is brown, first of all.
But I'd say
I was
it has
like,
been
David, they
hard
don't
for
have.
him to not have those examples. Like I said earlier, they're not represented in our community, like in our leaders and stuff. So, it is hard probably to understand, like that, to kind of get that sense of identity, in a community that you don't have a lot of, I guess what I'm saying, like
Well, and
mirrored
then
back.
whenever, I guess, like the one example we would have had was later arrested for being a murderous drug dealer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what kind of example was that?
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, that's fine, girl. But do you know what I'm saying, Brandy? Like,
Yeah.
I think
Love ya.
I ain't sure he held some kind of office though, but there was an African American man that held office, and I
Yeah.
won't even mention his name. If people want to know who he is, and go look it up, because I ain't here to put nobody down, and what I'm about to say don't sound very nice. But he's a known.
It's
He's
true.
killed a man before. He got away with it. And he also is being arrested for selling drugs. So,
Yeah.
like even if at one point he was respectable, tarnished is not to the point. It's kind of like, well, now, so you really don't want a kid to look up to you,
Right.
and say, yeah, that's what I want to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So the one example I could give him, I don't, and purposely have not.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that's respectable enough that they have allowed, that our white community has allowed to be, well, other than Tyrone. He ain't gonna say he's a perfect person. I hope he's not wrapped up in none of that, to be honest, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But he always going to school with him and stuff. He was a co-dude. I never looked at him and seen him for the color of skin he had. I always just looked at him and seen another human being. I guess it's the difference between me and, like the next person who does make a big difference in that.
I think there was, some of us in the community that was raised, you have respect no matter, color or, things like that. I was raised,
right. I was always the same way growing up.
No different, So
my dad's fucking I about drove my daddy crazy with it. I about drove him nuts with it. He was indoctrinated.
Yeah,
and he tried to do me like that.
Right.
And I wasn't having it. And I said, no, we ain't doing this.
Yeah.
But I dealt with.
Well, see, I'm sure my grandparents were, and I know my mom was.
Yeah. Like he said things to me that I would not repeat to anybody, about.
We was never, I don't think we was ever raised to be mean towards someone.
No, you be respectful.
Or
they taught us to be respectful,
but they
and be kind,
didn't,
no matter what. But in my house, I was not allowed to date anybody that was too dark. Nobody was allowed to come around. I wasn't allowed to have black friends, things like that. So
See,
it was more of the micro things.
Me either.
Secret, like this is the way it is. We don't mix, and we don't do this, and we don't do that, and we don't do these things, and we don't break bread. But when you see him in public, you're kind of nice and put on this front. But this is what it is in the background, and that
as
just
long
never
as they were good to me.
right? It never did. It just never clicked for me.
I was told the same thing, Marie.
Yeah.
See, that's how my mom grew up like that. But see, she was never racist, and she never made a difference, because obviously she raised me to be the way I am. So she knew enough to take herself out of that, to pull it out of herself. Yeah. Even though, when she did see guys that were African American stuff that she was with, it was never public. It was never, she never brought them home. Nothing like that. Me and my brother seen her with an African American when we were younger, but that was it. My grandmother she would have never brought somebody home ever. But
Yeah.
me, it don't mean nothing to me like that. And, like my family's never say nothing to me about my husband or about my son. So
Right.
I can't really say that.
Well, and then too, I'd say your son
maybe we were
coming
that family that
along,
had that statue in our yard for all I know.
for
Right.
the thing of it is, your family, I'm sure that when your son came along, a baby changes everything. It probably
Yeah.
if there was someone that was that way, it educated them basically, it gave them a reason to say, hey, wait a minute, that's my niece or
I'm not
nephew
going to
or
hate this
grandchild or,
baby. Right.
you know,
Right.
Great grandchild.
right. So
Yeah.
I'm going
I
to,
think my grandfather he never said nothing. And he was always, real respectful when it come to talking about African Americans and stuff around me. But even as a little girl, and I always made a joke that, well, that should have been their warning. Because when I was a little girl, I didn't want to play with white baby dolls. I wanted black baby dolls.
That's so funny you just said
And
that. I was just telling Dusto at Walmart a couple days ago that I used to drive my mommy nuts wanting a little black baby doll. And I don't know why, but it's just like I wanted it so bad.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
I
would
think it
beg
was
for
just
it
our
and beg for it.
generation
And she finally
tie,
got me
for
one
real.
and told Dad to go to hell. And he wouldn't let me take it nowhere. I was allowed to play with it in the house, but I wasn't allowed to take it nowhere. But ain't that
But
funny? Like
yeah,
that's funny you
yeah,
just
I
said that
know,
because I was
right?
literally just like replaying that memory in my mind whenever
Uh,
you
but
said
yeah,
that.
like I would not. I did not want a white baby. I did not want a
yeah,
white baby doll, and it wasn't nothing. Like when I grew up, I was like, "Oh, I don't want a white baby." It was just that's just how the cards fell. But I always
Yeah,
have made a joke, that should have gave my family some warning, if not
some kind
anything.
of
That I wouldn't even play with white baby dolls when
a
I was little.
premonition, premonition
Right.
that
I
of
must have because I
precursor
got
of
a
what was to
beautiful
come.
youngin' now. So,
Yeah.
like
but
I
that's
said,
just
them
how I've
babies
always
turn
said
things
it. I say the
around.
same thing, Ty.
Okay.
Hey, Ty, I was asking Brandy earlier. Um, like how I had to have all these talks with Drayton before he ever left the house. Have you ever felt or thought that you would ever have to talk to your child about the way they talk to the law before they leave the house? Now, being that you have girls, that's a little different.
Yeah.
So but still, you know what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you have ever thought to tell them to act a certain way, like respectful wise, not as far as I know that they got to act a certain way as far as ladylike, so that way
Well,
you don't give a cop the wrong idea. But
yeah, but for us it was a little bit different because of the the system has been my enemy from day one.
That's
The
what I
system
told
has
her,
been
the
after me
legal
right,
since
legal
before I turned
situation.
18. They were up my ass. And like something that Sarah actually said to me, she was like, she was talking about how she felt unsafe and stuff whenever the cops was coming and knocking on the door and trying to get her isolated and things. And I was like, honey, like I know what you're saying. I know what you're going through because like I've been there. I've been running from these people my entire life. I've been evading them, and this is why. This is exactly like why we live on high alert. And she said, yeah, but you've been doing it all this time and you've got experience and I don't know what to do and I'm scared. And I said, well, that's why we're here. We're going to hopefully be able to cast a support network around you all that we didn't have. You
But
know, like you've
the
got
court
people
system
you've
turned
got somebody
right,
to call when shit goes south, you know,
the
that's going to
court
at least
system turned
scream
us
it from the
into a
mountaintops.
minority.
I might not
But
be able to do much else, but I can draw the attention to it and get the right people to look at it and to come and help, possibly, you know? So, but up until then, like, yeah, like with Leah, there has been many instances like where we've had to talk about things and about how you act, like you don't act too nervous, like
You
don't light a
know,
cigarette, you can't, like, you be
that's
polite
made me
and
think of something.
respectful, but don't let them cross your boundaries, like if they offer you or
You know what
offer
I
to do
told
something for
Sarah?
you, don't fall for it. It's a trick. No matter what, it's a fucking trick. Don't fall for it.
Well, you know what I told
Like it's just
Sarah?
basic things
Make
like that, like
sure.
coaching them of what not to say to the court system, like
Well,
to keep them from locking them up.
with Sarah, I was always afraid I would tell her to pull over somewhere that was lit up in public, just because she was a female. You know,
Right. Yeah.
but
And to
Right.
with
check your
the
back
Yeah,
boys,
I
seats
was
and
always
carry
told.
your keys and things like that.
just
So
That's a
you
you know,
all
lot.
do understand, and girls and mothers will probably understand a little better than those with boys. So my kind
right,
of question, I guess, is those of you that watch this that have boys,
right.
and you have white children, ask yourself, have you ever had to warn your son before leaving the house? Don't act a fool because this could cost you your life.
Or don't
And I
reach in
mean,
your
like,
pocket or
literally your
something.
life.
Right.
Right, exactly. And the thing about it is these boys these days, they got a bad habit of keeping their hands in their pockets, and I'm just hoping that's just out of
Their
habit.
hoodies,
But
things
they're
like
also
that.
teenage boys. And I'm like, okay, you just got to understand, you can't just walk around with your hands in your pockets, son. I was like, because that's you're giving them a reason. You're
You
giving
know,
them a reason to pull a gun on you,
and
and
it's sad
that
that you've
shouldn't
had
be
to have
like
them talks
that.
with him. It's so sad that you've
Yeah,
had to have those talks with him because he's a child. I know he's almost grown, but like you said before, that's your baby, but you shouldn't have had to have had those talks.
That's so.
We should be in 2025. You would think we would have advanced enough that you know that would be something that you wouldn't have to worry about every time he leaves the house. And I'm sure you do. You
right.
probably, there's that anxiety of, ugh, you know,
Yeah.
Okay,
because,
let me just put it to y'all like this. Just like you all worry about your girls getting taken advantage of, I worry about him being taken advantage of, but just over because of his race.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's no different, y'all. So you all
right,
do, and girls and mothers can understand. But when you
Yeah.
have a boy, you're supposed to,
turn them
have this
loose.
little bit of relaxation behind it, other than don't bring home a pregnant girl, you know.
Yeah,
And not before you're married or not before you at least get through school. Try not to have babies until then, till you're old enough where
yeah,
you can handle it. But
yeah. I
other
understand
than
what you're
that,
saying because,
that's the normal talks that you get to have as a mother. The
yeah,
abnormal talks is, don't cross the wrong white person. Watch out for this family. Watch out for that family. Watch out for just those household names.
like I
Watch out for
said,
this person.
what door does he know to knock on? See things like that because I mean, you
Well, he
never
got
know
really
when they're out.
lucky because, like I said, he's a teenage boy. He's got a little goatee and stuff. The person could have shot him for the way, but God was watching out for my baby, and I will say that because He placed a hedge of protection
Yeah,
around him, and I believe that with my whole heart.
it just should have
Um,
never happened. Is
because
the
Drayden
that
had out of his mind, but he found a house with that statue in the yard. He walked straight on in their house. He didn't even knock. But like I said, he was scared. And I was familiar with those people and the paramedics that arrived. I was familiar with them, and everybody was great and was really comforting and let me get him home as quickly as possible. And that's all he
But
wanted to do was come home. And like, going to the rec center is a treat for my child because he don't get to just go. We can't afford for him to go down to the rec center every single day, and I
yeah,
don't have a membership there. So
and
unless you got a
there's
membership, you
certain
about can't afford
things
it.
that probably happened when you was a kid, or, when I was a kid, that, you never forget. And, that's going to be something that will live in his head, the rest of his life.
Oh, he'll never forget that.
Right.
He'll never
Right.
forget that.
And,
That it
just,
traumatized him. So what this does to children is so traumatic that, even a child that hadn't been through the specific trauma like Drayden had, they're still dealing with it. Like, say, even him this, say nothing happened to him, right? And he was just watching what his father was going through and what I go through and what we go through as a married couple. Because you have his dad, you have me, and you have us together. And Drayden, he gets all, was getting all that, but, it's just not fair to him.
no.
Especially when they're punishing him just as more than they're punishing his dad.
Yeah.
Because his dad can, you know what I'm saying? He can at least, thank God he was able to get out of here in time before they was able to capture him.
His father, wants to be in his life, but they're not allowing it. It's just
him not being allowed to be in the home like that.
Yeah.
What kind of effect are you seeing?
And it's just, but the thing, let me touch on this too, though, Ty. I'm glad that you said that. Him not allowed to be in the home. No, honey, he is afraid for his life. Literally afraid for his life.
Yeah.
To be here.
I do not blame him.
Not because of me, not because of my family, but he's that afraid of the law enforcement and our judicial system for the things that they have already put him through, the traumatic experiences that they've done, the kidnapping, all that. I'm gonna call it kidnapping because he didn't agree to none of that.
I think he's close to my age, and I can remember since he was an adult, every chance they got, they picked him up. I mean, just from memory, from just,
they have.
And so, my youngin spent a lot of time down there.
When he got with his ex-wife. Well, no, that might not be true. He may have been older than 18, but I ain't sure. He wasn't much older.
He was young.
In his early 20s.
He was young.
It was right after.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Reba died, and like I said in my interview with Tabiz, after Reba died, she would come to help take care of him. And that was her cousin that had just passed away, the one that was driving the car.
Yeah.
Was his ex-wife's cousin.
Yeah.
Well, he's the man. We all know how men are, so not excusing it, but it is what it is. And they ended up falling in love or having kids or whatever, but ended up getting married at a very young age. And for him, she's a little older than he is, so I really don't know. I'm not going to put my opinion in there about that because that shouldn't really matter here anyway. And isn't my focus. And I don't want people to get me twisted when I say things that I say because I mean what I say.
It's almost, you can't explain like how he shouldn't even be in jail. It's something so minor. His charges and things are so minor that he shouldn't even be in jail at all. You know what I'm saying?
It's against his. Well, hold on, Brandy. It's more than that. It's against his constitutional rights for them to lock him up over a debt that he owes.
Exactly.
And that's what
that is prison. Yep.
Yeah.
Debtor's prison. It is against his constitutional rights for them to do that to him.
Yeah.
And no one makes them follow the rules here. So
no.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes, how it plays out in the end. I would give anything if we could afford a lawyer.
See,
I'm not asking for money or nothing, but or if you know somebody that is a lawyer that would help, that would be more helpful than anything.
When people usually ask me, like, well, what do y'all need? Or, lawyers, someone to come in here and look at this and say no and file the right paperwork the right way that it will be took care of, instead of, because, completely, most of us are over our head, a lot of this stuff is. I don't know what paperwork to file and do and, things like that. And to have legal assistance to help, people that are struggling with all these things would be
And they'll say, well,
a
you can go
godsend.
look it up. Well, who's got time to go look it up themselves? That's why they hire lawyers or try
Right.
to find themselves a lawyer. But what happened to people being good is doing something because it was right? And
Yeah.
because there was so many wrongs being made,
Right.
And like, so Brandy, you know him, right? You know him personally, like you know who he
Well,
is and stuff.
we was in
Maybe you
high
don't know
school,
him personally, let me say
but I
that,
know
but you
him.
know who he
Yeah.
is as a person.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, has he ever been a bad person though that you know of?
No.
I mean, I've never
No.
known him to be.
Anytime I have
Exactly.
ever been around him, he was very respectful. He was very nice. I mean, I have never, you know what I'm saying? There's just never been an opportunity. I've been, been around him or his brothers that they've not
Right.
been just sweethearts, So
Well,
I can
thank you
honestly
for
say they
saying
kind of
that.
picked on him so hard. It was like he could step outside and it seemed like he was back in jail, whether
Yeah, I know.
it didn't matter,
Because whenever I was saying that before, I'm so glad that Brandy's on here with us tonight. It's not just because I'm saying it. You heard it from somebody that I just asked her, did she know him? So you know I didn't know this prior.
Right.
So
No,
I mean,
like I said,
I
anytime
know
I've
you
been around
believe
him,
me, but still.
you could tell they
It
was
helps
raised
having
well.
somebody else hear it say it too,
Yeah. And there's probably more than me, that know him better, than me. But like I said, anytime I've ever had the opportunity to be around him or any of his brothers, you could tell they were raised well. They're very respectful and just, they were the sweethearts. And so I never could understand, no matter what happened. It's like if he went to the BP, it was like he's back in jail. It was just kind of
Right. Well,
ridiculous.
listen, the only thing he's ever really been in trouble for was child support. He's never actually done
Yeah.
nothing criminal, or never actually had charges that they could stick to him and
They
make him
sure like
hold
trying,
because
though.
he ain't an actual criminal. You know
They
what I'm saying?
sure
And
like
regardless,
trying.
even it, yeah, I
They
know it. Yeah,
trying to make him one.
it wasn't without lack of trying.
Right.
It went without lack of
Right.
trying, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this, so the psychological damage that this does to them is just ridiculous, especially the children. And it's not fair. It's one
Right.
thing that they're attacking my husband. It's a whole nother thing when it involves my son, and it does.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to fight for my husband, so could you imagine how hard I fight for on both?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm fighting a brick wall, and I'm not making a dent in it, but you never know. Maybe one day a pebble will fall and the rest might crumble.
Hopefully. Because like I said, there's just there's a lot of wrong going on and been going on for a long time. So it, definitely. No, like I said, I don't want my grandkids now because my kids are grown, but I don't want my grandbabies living like we all had to, under one set of rules for these people, and then a set of rules for the rest of us, and it just something needs to happen.
Well,
I
seeing
mean,
that's how it is for them, because he's got a whole different set of rules he has to follow than the
yeah,
next white person here does, and that's not right at
no,
all.
it's not.
And the thing about it is that if we do not approach the subject head on in conversations about racism, then African Americans are going to feel pressure to give us a watered down version of their experiences, and that's not fair, and
Right.
that's not right
And
to
that's
them.
not helping anybody. Yeah.
No. I mean, we've
No,
said
but
that from the beginning. If you're a victim, your voice is important. It's another piece of the puzzle of what's going on wrong. You know, and your son's story is very
right, but
important.
I just feel like that they're not wanting to recognize
That's
that.
the importance of
It
validating
is
them,
more than just
like we
story,
were
but I
saying in the
also didn't
beginning.
want to take the focus away from his father by telling what happened with Dryden. Right. And so, but I feel like I've talked about it enough and that it's been heard about a little bit enough that I don't care to share what happened with Drayden as well. But more than that, I wanted to check with him and make sure he didn't mind. And he told me the other day he didn't care if I shared that was okay. At first, I don't think he acted like he didn't want me to, and that's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah.
But then this last time, whenever I talked to him about it, and I was like, "Hey, are you sure?" Because, and that's whenever I thought about this, and when I rewatched the show and seen that, and I was like, "Dry, are you sure you don't care for me mentioning that? Because that's probably where I'm going to do it at." And he was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." He was like, "No, I really don't care," and I was like, "Okay."
See, I'm the
And
same
maybe
way with
maybe there will be
my
a
kids.
teen seeing this that. Right. Maybe there'll be some teens that can use this and help their friends, or there'll be teens that see it and maybe say, "Hey, was that me that made that joke? Or was that me?" It says, "Oh, yeah, I love him to death, but then I was the one that turned around and made him feel like I was being a racist in the next breath."
Or maybe a parent will watch it and set their children down and maybe talk to them about, not saying
Hey,
those
could that
jokes
have been you
or
doing
be,
that? Right.
you know, right.
Yeah, yeah. Sparking conversation is our first defense against it is talking about it openly, without
Right.
being afraid to, without censorship, without, intelligently, and as a parent and as a citizen of this country, like we have big problems that we're going to have to deal with. And that's all there is to it. So, conversation is the first step to finding solutions.
I agree with that too, girl. Oh, and if anybody wonders why I haven't been in the chat, it's because right now I have to join it and link my account. And if I do, it's going to pull me out of this. So I'm just going to wait. So if anybody has any kind of questions about the psychology behind it, or any questions that haven't been answered, or anything at all for me, then I will be going back later to read all the comments and stuff, and I'll probably answer them then. But
Yeah,
that's why
because
I haven't been
you
in it.
worked your
And I
tail
just now
off.
looked, and I was, well, I don't, anything that I think of, like, even if I know this sounds crazy, but even when it comes to like dye my hair, like I wanted to see how I could dye my hair a different color as a brunette without having to bleach it first. So I done like the full research all behind it just to try to figure that out. It ain't possible, y'all. Except I did find hair dye. Now, I did find hair dye. Like, you know how people be going and getting their hair all light pink and stuff, and like rose color paint. It's
Yeah,
got a little bit of a different tint to it, but it does work for brunettes.
brunette.
Yep. It'll work on brown hair. I don't know if it'll do the red or
See,
not.
that's Sarah's problem. She tries, but when we have the red, it'll get to this fluorescent orange color and stops. It's just like that's as much as she can get it, bleached out. So she usually has to go with the darker colors, to kind of kind of get
Well,
it
now
straightened
tell her
out.
if she'll do it slowly and come down step by step and just do like the caramel color and then a more
That's
red. Eventually, she'll get to the bleach, to the
Yeah,
blonde look. But even whenever I just dyed my hair from dark brown to blonde, I didn't go straight from dark brown to blonde. I went from dark brown to caramel color to like the next step down to the next step down.
Yeah.
So eventually it started looking blonde. It took me about a year before I actually was a blonde.
Yeah. She does what I call stress dyeing. She'll get real stressed out, and next thing you know, her hair. It's either dyeing it, cutting it. So that's her way of dealing with anxiety, is she'll dye her hair. And so she's been bad to burn it smack dab up trying to get whatever color she's trying at the time. So I told Tom I start going with some gray something, but it's not really bothering me much. I'm just like, I've earned them gray hairs.
Well, I want to go silver. I would like to try my hair at silver. I think I could pull silver off. I've been blonde.
That would be pretty.
I stayed blonde for about 4 or 5 years. And now I'd like to try the silver. But now I found out I have to have it completely blonde and like platinum blonde just to do the silver. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work out for me or not.
It's really hard to get it all lifted out for that. I've tried to go gray a couple of times, and I can't manage to get that far.
Can't get.
My pigment's too heavy. It will melt my hair before it melts the pigment.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to get these links to work. It's not. I'm gonna have to pull it up and put it together on the computer because it's not letting me copy. It's not letting me share the workable link. I made a PDF for it. So, but it's not working from this phone. So, Dusso is here though. So I'm going to go ahead and get off here and get his supper made. Leah just messaged and said that somebody's following her. Hold on.
Yeah, we've been having trouble with stuff like that for the past little bit with our
They
girls.
followed him from court today and for the rest of the day.
I got cooked dinner myself.
A blacked out Jeep.
Well,
but thanks for having me again.
It was fun.
Great talking to you, ladies.
Yes,
you'll have to come back on and
if you think of anything that that we didn't touch on, just make us some bullet points and we can hop back on and hit on them anytime.
Okay. I'm sure there's there's plenty more to go into with this, but it's just up to you if you want to. I'll find another topic that dives into it and pull a bunch of information from it, and I'll get back with you and see about what you want to do and if you're interested in it.
Well, I mean, I think it would be educational. I mean, and we'll get it out there as much and as far as we can.
As far as we can. Yeah.
That sounds great. I appreciate you ladies so much.
And then Brandy, we'll get back up here in a little bit. As soon as I get done with dinner, we'll hop back on and do the CPS show. Trish, you're welcome to join us back later for that.
If you want to.
We're going to talk about CPS and the effect of the court system on children and share some of what's going on with Brandy and Sarah.
Well, send me a link, sis, and I will.
It'll be the same one. We'll use the same link. Probably.
I'm not dead in the middle of something.
All right.
Okay. Well, send me a message or something reminding me about it. If you or Brandy, if you don't care, one of you, send me a message and remind me. And if I ain't busy cooking, I will.
All right,
I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
All right. Bye, guys.